thank everyone.
This meeting is being recorded.
I want to thank everyone for taking the time, during the holidays. We've got a few issues we need to address, and I guess we can get started. The first item here is announcements. I have one which I shouldn't probably be not be any news to anyone, and that is that the last night the City Council approved the board's operating procedures and revised ordinance by unanimous vote. So with this act, the board is now fully empowered to fulfill its functions. Thanks to the council, all the board members, and members of the public, and the lawyers who participated in developing the document. We have an agenda item to, if anyone wants to ask questions and discuss in more details what this means, but that's all I've got in the way of an announcement. Anything else for the good of the community?
Other than to say that that's good news.
Yep.
It's been a long road.
Well, last year it took him till December 20th, till December 19th. No, wait a minute. I think it was December 20th on both years. Well, anyway, they really worked out right down to the last minute. All right. The next item is the approval of the minutes. We have November, but not October. We're working on it. Does anyone have any comments or questions on the minutes? If not, entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Chair votes yes also. So that's unanimous. The next item is the approval of the agenda. Anyone have any suggestions or changes? As I say, I've left I left an item in there for, talking about what the city council action means. We may not have much to discuss, but we might as well leave it in there, I think.
No
Is there
objection.
a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Yeah, second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Chair votes yes also. So the agenda is also approved. The next topic, again, it's more of an announcement than a topic. As you're aware, the board, Michael Kotchis, currently the police chief in Warrenton, has agreed to be our new police chief. We'll be starting on January 16th. I want to compliment the manager for the openness and transparency of the process. For people who are not aware, the board chair and vice chair, James and I, participated in the final round of the interviews. And we found all three candidates quite impressive. And while they are all, and also we hosted that the forum, which I thought went very well. People sent in some very apt questions that covered a huge range of topics, and really allowed people to get to know the various candidates. While all three finalists are highly qualified, I think Mr. Kutch's record in Warrenton and his answers to the questions from the public indicates that he shares the board's vision for just, fair, and compassionate policing with extensive public involvement. And so we look forward to working with him. Are there any other comments, questions? All right.
Oh, by the way, Bill, you did a great job of moderating / facilitating that event.
I had great material. I mean, all of the questions were right on. So I just had to pick the good ones. Ms. Rice, it is time for our first public comment period. Do we have anybody in the audience?
Yes, I'll go ahead and read the script. Thank you, Mr. Mendez. If you would like to speak, please if you would like to speak to the Police Civilian Oversight Board, please click the raise hand icon in the Zoom webinar. If you're joining us via phone, press *9, and each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes. When you're given permission to speak, just please say your first name and last name and residence when you begin.
So it does not appear that there are any hands raised. Okay, this is not terribly surprising since this makeup meeting was arranged on short notice. I guess probably one of the most important items of business we need to deal with right at this session is the moving the progress on the executive director search. I can bring you up to speed as to where we are and then as to what the next steps are. The applications for the position closed on the 2nd of December. Approximately 20 candidates applied. The hiring process is going to be similar to that used in selecting the chief of police. Based on the information supplied in the applications and the resumes, the city manager's office will select 5 to 7 candidates for initial electronic interviews. Currently, the first round of interviews is being planned for the morning and early afternoon of Wednesday, December 28th. The city manager has asked us to nominate one individual to be involved in that first round. In case you're not familiar with the way it works, everybody is asked the same set of questions. So it's kind of it's very much a routinized process. With people, you've got forms to fill out. You grade the people on the way they answered the questions and then pass those in. And maybe the city manager, the deputy city manager will ask you questions and reactions to the various candidates. Based on the first round of interviews, a smaller number of finalists will be selected. Don't know what number that is right now. And based on our ordinance requires that 2 members of the board to participate in the quote interview process, and the city manager has again invited 2 members to participate in this final round. Per our ordinance, we then communicate our preferences to the city manager, and if he chooses a candidate that we don't like, that is not among those that we prefer, he has to justify that choice. So an important order of business here is for us to decide who wants to be involved in the interview process. I have one suggestion, which is partially out of self-interest, but partially to spare people the monotony. I would volunteer for the first round interviews because they're going to take place, during 2/3 of a workday. If someone else wants to do that, that's fine. And then after that, we have to decide if anyone else, which two members wish to participate in the second round. Does anyone else want to participate in the first round?
Bill, did you say the 28th is the day?
28th is the day.
And that would be
It's a Wednesday.
Wednesday. Did you say it could be morning and afternoon, or
it looks like it will be starting around 8:30, maybe spilling over after lunch with 1 or 2 interviews, ending by maybe 2 or 2:30.
Okay. And we need 2 people for the first round?
Just 1.
Or just 1? I'd be interested right now. I don't know if the other gentleman or anyone else is interested. I may have to double check with the commander-in-chief and some stuff with my job. Kind of a little more about childcare for me. So I tentatively I'll say yes if you can kind of say, well, you'll be a backup for now until I can give you a final answer.
No, that'd be fine. I appreciate it. That's good. Check with Mr. Biden and see if you can be spared for that morning. And if not, I can cover it.
Okay.
Now, one way to approach the second round of interviews is for us to wait until we figure out when they are, because I suspect that will make a certain amount of difference to, who's available. I imagine this will be an all morning thing or an all afternoon thing. Anybody want to put their hat in the ring to be involved in the second round? Because again, we can figure out who's available ultimately.
Just because it's a little bit short notice, I will skip the first round, but I will throw my hat in for the second round.
Very good, thank you. And I'm going to throw my hat in for the second round as well. So I think that basically takes care of this item. I'll put in the minutes that Mr. Watson has volunteered for round 1 and with me as a backup. And Mr. Cooper has volunteered, Mr. Cooper and Mr. Mendez have volunteered for round 2. And again, depending on the timing, which might interfere with people, we might need to change that around.
I will also note if we could reach out to Mr. Frazier too as well, just in case if he wants to participate. I forgot that
entirely. Yeah, that's another reason to leave this second round open a little bit, is because Jeff has actually done this process before, and so he, assuming he is recovered from the COVID virus, may be up for taking on the second round. And if that's the case, I'd step aside. So,
Bill, did you mention that you said electronic? Is it over Zoom or is it in person? The first round.
First round is electronic.
Oh, okay. That increases my just because my kids are off from school, so it's kind of. But yeah, that pushes me up a couple more notches. But I still want to. I'll get back to you the next day or so on fully verify.
Okay, and as I understand it, the deputy city manager is trying to get everybody's schedule in the personnel department and the city manager's department and everybody else together, and the individuals who are being interviewed have to be available, and so that may not happen.
It could change.
It could change, and maybe you have to wait till after Christmas. I'm not sure.
Zoom makes it a lot easier for me.
It sure makes it a lot easier. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and one other thing. In the recruitment and interview process for the police chief, we were invited to submit questions that we thought we would like to ask the candidates. I'm assuming that we can do that again, and it doesn't make any, it won't do any damage if we do. So I've got a few questions I'm going to submit. Anybody else wants to, maybe we could pool them, and I can send them to Ashley, and then it's really up to her to decide. You know, given the limited amount of time for each set of interviews, you know, which questions are going to be asked. So,
quick question, Mr. Chair. Is there a deadline that you would want these questions in?
I think we're more likely to get, our questions are more likely to make it into the second round.
Okay.
So you know, as soon as possible, but I think, you know, anytime next week would be okay. Because, you know, my experience is my questions were about sort of nitty gritty stuff. And the first round is kind of like, what are your qualifications? You know, brag. And then the second round is, how would you do this and that? And, you know, so whenever you can. All right, thank you. Any other questions on the search? Okay, I've got a brief report on the status of complaints and review requests. This is based on reports provided by the Internal Affairs, Lieutenant Haney of the Internal Affairs Division. We continue to have 2 review requests pending, so we can't do anything until we get a new executive director. So hopefully that will, you know, as you've heard, that process is ongoing, and it won't be too much longer until we can stop spinning our wheels. During November, the board received 1 complaint through its website from an individual who stated that police failed to believe him when he showed proof of residence and continued to demand proof unnecessarily. He was given the option of having this complaint pursued by the Internal Affairs Division, and I believe he has decided no, he'll wait for us to do the investigation. The number of complaints received in October was none. The number of complaints received in November was 4, one of which was generated internally in the Internal Affairs Department by, you know, one officer reporting another officer. In October and November, 2 complaints each were closed. In October, there were a total of 4 allegations adjudicated, 2 of which were sustained. And in November, there were also 4 allegations adjudicated, of which none were sustained, although 1 was judged to be a situation that did not rise to the level of a violation, and the officer was counseled. Any questions about the status of complaints? All right. So we have the next item is the review of policies and procedures, particularly on bias-based policing. Mr. Brown, you want to bring us up to speed on where you are?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I've reviewed several local bias-based policing policies. I'm also in the process of codifying all of those, in addition to Department of Justice's bias-based policing, and how it lines up or doesn't line up with what's currently underway. I believe just a little background on it. I guess the initial reasoning for pursuing this avenue was because there is, I guess there's a strong perception or belief that that there is bias-based policing here locally, and then part of that definition of what that means kind of it is written in such a way that a lot of the allegations that are brought forth are found in favor of the police department. So I'm working on codifying that right now in written form, and expect to have that to the board prior to the next meeting.
Okay, that sounds very good, because there is a divide in the country, and particularly in Virginia, between the police departments that use the solely based on race or protected as one standard, and then other police departments use different, broader, in my opinion, more reasonable standards. And it sounds like Bellamy is doing a good job at teasing out those differences. And I look forward to hearing his report. Any other questions on this topic? Thank you, Bellamy. Okay, now we have an item here where we could, if we wanted to, discuss the implications of the city council action on the operating procedures. I will just observe that it's one more hurdle in a stream of hurdles. Now to become a functioning board, we need an executive director. We need a stable of hearing examiners, but now we can start going out and getting the hearing examiners. We need a list of eligible investigators. Again, now we're in the process of doing that. And so we will have a busy, start of the next year at the very least. And, I think our, main focus should be on, getting everything in place as quickly as possible, so we can, get rid of our backlog, basically. Any other questions?
Did any of you all see any maybe hiccups that may come our way temporarily? The city attorney, of course, is leaving, and so we got another transition. I know we've kind of gone through a lot of phases where we've needed the city attorney, and maybe at the moment we're not as in need, but I guess that's another factor too. If it takes I don't know how long it might take, maybe a couple of months. And, I don't know what the interim, if we'll need the interim person, but it's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, that came up at the city council meeting last night. And as I understand it, the city council has given the city manager, power to enlist associate and interim personnel to carry out all the functions that department should be carrying out. I certainly just, on a personal level, Lisa Robertson was a very strong ally of ours. And so we're going to have to rebuild that relationship. And yeah, that might be something that we need to do.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I want to thank Lisa for her service. I know during my time, she was instrumental in helping to navigate a lot of the challenges that we were facing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not a position that's going to be for really anybody to just easily come in and kind of fulfill the shoes that she filled for a long time, so.
Yeah, well, when Hansel was teaching us about the structure of oversight boards, the idea was that no two oversight organizations are the same, and I'm getting the impression that no two municipalities are the same as well, and that you really do have to learn a lot about what the city code says. You sort of have to have more than general experience. But anyway, any questions, comments about the new operating procedures?
No, I just thank you for your leadership on moving that forward, and the presentation that you had provided to council. It's obviously been a long road, and you guys have been on it longer than I have, and it's I know the challenges and everything that we were facing, and definitely to Ms. O'Berry for her guidance and everything. I know, obviously we haven't discussed, but I know just in her representation of how solid she is, and definitely when Cynthia was helping me, I know the difficulty that went into all of that. So yeah, thank you both for carrying that forward.
Yep, absolutely. We will definitely miss her when she's gone. And I've checked, and I asked when the party was, but she said she's not having one, and so I'm very disappointed. But anyway, the next item on our agenda is scheduling our meetings next year. As it stands right now, under the standard operating procedure that has been passed that has been issued by the city attorney, the city manager, we are required to hold 3/4 of our meetings in person. And at the present time, we have reserved space in city space and at 6:30 on the second Thursday of each month. It's a little tough to change that, but if anybody has a problem with it and wants to explore alternatives, it would be a good idea to raise that issue fairly soon, because they kind of run out of space, So just to announce, our next meeting will be on January 12th at City Space, unless something like a snowstorm or a COVID epidemic intervenes. Any questions, comments?
So just thinking out loud, then we have, based on that, I guess we have about 3 meetings that will be virtual, that we follow that pattern, and then 9 in person.
That is what we were allowed to do.
Okay.
It doesn't mean we have to. So
I do have some travel coming up throughout the winter time and the early fall that, not that anybody cares about my travel, but but work travel that I would be in a hotel and jump on a Zoom, but I won't be in Charlottesville.
Yeah, actually, I would have to check the SOP, but I'm reasonably certain that it is okay for members with a good excuse, like they're in Bali, to get on Zoom. I'll get back to you on that, but that's how I understand it.
Cool.
And I think it probably is a good idea to assume that unless there is some conflict, it's just a better idea to meet in person. So we get to meet some of these people who keep showing up at in our Zoom calls, and I never get to recognize any of them face to face, that is. Okay, if there's no other comments on that issue, the next item on our agenda is the second public comment period. Ms. Rice.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mendez. And once again, if you'd like to speak to the PCOB, please use the raise hand function on Zoom. If you're joining us via phone, press *9, and each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes. When you start speaking, please share your first and last name and your place of residence.
Well, I don't see any hands raised, but Ms. Fraley, Mr. Witten, Mr. Sales, and Ms. Conger, thank you for coming. I'll entertain, does anyone have any other issues they want to raise? Anyone want to move for adjournment?
So move.
Second, somewhere?
I'll second it.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Vice Chair Watson?
Yes.
The chair says yes. The meeting stands adjourned. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you.